Oh, hold on. Give me just a second. Yo, what's going on with y'all boys, man? Welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here to talk about why I think that Dirk Nowitzki should also be in the top 10 discussion. You know what I'm saying? Now I know this might sound crazy, or you might say that, or you're just putting anybody in the top 10 discussions. You know what I'm saying? But I need y'all to hear me out. Give me a second to explain. First reason I think that he should be in the top 10 discussion, or just not even top 10, but just in the discussion of all-time greats. We just gonna start off first and foremost. He has had the hardest ring to win in NBA history. You know what I'm saying? He won the hardest ring in NBA history, having to go through Kobe Bryant, having to go through OKC, having to go through the Miami Big Three. You know what I'm saying? Having to pretty much go through every major star of the 2010s or 2000s and beat them convincingly. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, just the fact that, given that the hand he was dealt, the fact that he wasn't given, the best supporting cast, he wasn't given the best teams. It was just, he just had the will to win. You know what I'm saying? His game didn't look the prettiest in some people's eyes, but in my eyes, the man's game was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? The fade away, the being able to score in any amount of space, just being able to go get a bucket at any time, being 7 foot, that skilled, is just, like I said, it's not many players that are able to do what Dirk Nowitzki was able to do. You know what I'm saying? And just going back to the fact that he was able to win the hardest ring in NBA history, but also going through some dogs like Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Going through dogs like KD, going through prime LeBron. You know what I'm saying? You could also say prime D Wade. You know what I'm saying? Even though it was trending towards the end, after the major injuries, but it was still prime D Wade. Russell Westbrook, James Harden. You know what I'm saying? What? You want to talk about some dogs? And I think even in that run, he had to go through the Nuggets. You know what I'm saying? Melo. It's just, either way you look at it, it ain't too many players that can do that. You know what I'm saying? The hand he was dealt with, Jason Kidd being his right hand man, and Jason Terry being at times was his second best player. You know what I'm saying? But just the fact that, there's pretty much nobody on the basketball court that can hold him. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to being able to put the ball in the basket, we talk about the players like KD, or we talk about the players like Kobe and Melo, but we don't really talk about Dirk Nowitzki. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he's able to get his shot off over anybody. In the same way that we talk about Wembanyama now, Dirk Nowitzki was was one of the first to do it. You know what I'm saying? Being able to get his shot off in any amount of room, any amount of space. You know what I'm saying? Being at 7 foot, he wasn't the greatest ball handler, but he had enough just to get by you. You know what I'm saying? He had enough just to get his shot off, just to create enough room. Like I said, he wasn't the strongest. At times, he was the biggest, though. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the quickest. He just knew how to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Your favorite player couldn't hold Dirk Nowitzki, no matter who it was. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it came to the post, him, being in the post, facing you up, being able to go either direction, spin move on something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Just like I said, had a counter to every single defender, every single scheme. Like, he just had it all. I really don't think he gets talked about a lot. You know what I'm saying? Had a run where he went 10 plus years averaging at least 22. You know what I'm saying? I hate to get into all the stats and stuff, but the fact that he was able to do that in an era where, like I said, the rules were stricter, in a more physical era, teams averaging 90 to 95 points. You're scoring at least, he averaging 26, 28, 27. You know You know what I'm saying? When teams were only averaging 90 to 100 points. You know what I'm saying? He got averaged a quarter of their points. If people knew how hard that was, I think people would appreciate that a lot more. You know? But yeah, he definitely needs to be in that conversation. And I think he's just one of those players where you can't look at the accolades or the rings to really justify him being great. He was one of those players where you really have to sit down and just watch, you know what I'm saying, and just be mesmerized by the way he was moving and how he was way above his time. You know what I'm saying? The man was 7 foot back then, shooting 40% from the three, you know, shooting 90% from the free throw line. You know what I'm saying? That's a big man's dream to this day. You know, he's one of those players that you can really put in every single era. You know, and I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, he wasn't as physical or as strong to play back then." It didn't matter. It didn't matter. When you a bucket getter, you can get buckets anywhere. You know, and the buckets he'll give you, it ain't bully ball. It's just he getting to his spots and he rising up. You know what I'm saying? There was plenty of defenders where you could so-called say he was strong or that was stronger than him or more physical than him. But it don't matter if you in his face and he pulling up anyway. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. He getting his shot off regardless. You know what I'm saying? That strength don't affect the stroke. It don't affect the wrist movement. It don't affect jab, step, spin left, fade. Like it don't affect all that. I just think, man, people need to put more respect on Dirk Nowitzki game. Dirk Nowitzki game. Let me say it again, Dirk Nowitzki game. Put more respect on it. Because the man's one of the all-time greats. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he's just one of those players that doesn't get talked about. But if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it came to, you know, crunch time. You want to talk about clutch. He's as clutch as it gets. You know what I'm saying? The same way people talk about Kobe, they need to bring up Dirk in those conversations when it comes to clutchness. You know what I'm saying? Being able to hit the big shots. You know, because at the end of it, because, you know, given the team, the players that was around him, you knew who was going to get the ball at the end of the game. It was going to be Dirk. And you never knew what he was going to hit you with. You know what I'm saying? He's the ultimate phone booth scorer. You know? Can score in the phone booth. He can put anywhere. Not even just a phone booth. You can put him anywhere. He'll get a bucket off. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, strength don't affect all that. You know? He can play in any era. Like I said, shooting 40%, 90% from the free throw line. You know, 50% from the field at times. You know, just that, especially that run where he went from, I think it was like 06 to 2011. You know what I'm saying? That just 5-year run was where you really started, or you really saw the greatness in his game. You know what I'm saying? He's just so unorthodox, but at the same time, so balanced. You know what I'm saying? Like, one-legged fadeaways, kicking the foot out, just one-legged pull-ups. His game looked so unorthodox, but it was so efficient. You know what I'm saying? He has the type of game where you don't want to teach it. You just have to have it in you. You know? You just have to be comfortable with it. He doesn't have the type of game where you go to a trainer or when you're learning how to play basketball, you look up Dirk Nowitzki highlights. No, he has the type of game when you already have, you know, developed the fundamentals of the game. And now it's time to really expand your knowledge of the game. You know, he has one of those type games. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video. I just had to let y'all know that it's time to really put respect on Dirk Nowitzki game. Because at the end of the day, man, you know, I know the same players get talked about over and over again, but there's also some all-time greats that people don't talk about. And I feel like Dirk Nowitzki is one of them. But make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Do those 3 things for me. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.